One of the important advantages of knowing about decision styles, and especially knowing your own style profile, is in recognizing situations that really do fit well with the way you think and decide, and also recognizing situations that may call for other ways of thinking, other styles of thinking. So I'm going to give you some tips for identifying situations that best fit each of the four styles. And then I'll talk about ways to adopt a style that may be different from your own. So I'm going to share my screen here. I have a short presentation I'd like to show you. So adapting to different situations with style, each of the styles, beginning with the decisive style. I'll remind you, it's a fast-acting, very focused style. Once plans are made, it reliably follows through on the plans. It's very clear and direct in communications. And that style is going to best fit circumstances where there's a short fuse burning. Time is of the essence. Decisions have to be made quickly and clearly. And the issues at hand are relatively similar, or simple and familiar. Clarity of communication is especially important. And there are pre-established guidelines or rules that would apply to the situation that you're facing. On the other hand, the flexible style is also fast, but it's very adaptable. It's a multi-focus style. It's able to shift directions quickly, open to a lot of new input and ideas. And that style best fits dynamic, fast-changing, perhaps unpredictable circumstances and situations where immediate responsiveness is needed to adapt to any changes that are taking place. And hopefully there are multiple options available from which to choose to deal with the situation at hand. And there are multiple stakeholders that perhaps need to be involved in the decision. Hierarchic. It's an analytical, logical, unifocused style. Good at planning, great at reliable follow through. You stick with your plan until you get to where you intended to go. And it's a very logical communicator, very clear and logical communicator. And that style best fits situations that are relatively complicated. They may be technical, strategic, or long-term. There is a specific goal or criterion that must be met in the decision that's going to be made. And once the decision is made, it can't be modified easily later on. Therefore, a detailed plan needs to be communicated to other people who are involved in the decision with the logic and the rationale. The integrative style is also analytic, but it's much more broad thinking. It's a multi-focus style. It's relatively patient. And people with this style, when they're in that mode, they tend to have good peripheral vision. They're not only just looking straight ahead, they can see stuff that's happening off on the side. So they've got a broad viewpoint. And they tend to be open to a lot of input and possibilities. They're comfortable with collaboration and they're team-oriented. That style, integrative, best fits situations that are complex, they're multifaceted. The issues at hand are unusual, and there's a real potential for broad long-term impact of the decisions that are going to be made. There may be very few established rules, guidelines, or precedents for handling the situation, so there may be a call for some creative thinking. The strategies that need to be developed will be flexible and they can be changed as the situation changes itself. And there may be a number of different stakeholders whose input is needed and whose acceptance will be important. So those are the key circumstances that call for each of the style. Now, in terms of getting yourself into a particular mode, especially if one or the other of these styles is not one that comes to you easily, I'll start with the decisive style again. So it's important to stay focused. You start focused and you stay focused. You concentrate on an immediate key goal or outcome that's going to be needed. You concentrate on just a few essential facts. You don't get lost in a lot of details, and you set a strict time limit to decide. Time is going to be of the essence. Keep the decision you come up with simple, and if possible, stick with established solutions for the problem at hand. Decide and communicate your decision quickly and clearly with minimal details, and stick to the path once you've set out on a particular path. The flexible style. Stay alert and prepared for change, because this is going to best fit situations that are dynamic and fast changing. So stay limber. Don't overcommit to any one course of action. Be open and interactive with other people who may be involved, and consider new and unusual options that may be good for dealing with the situation at hand. Don't let too much time go by. Decide quickly and keep things simple. The hierarchic style is going to be particularly important to identify a very clear priority and objective, and then stay focused on it. Be ready to dig deep into any relative facts and details. Make sure to allow sufficient time for thinking things through for analysis with minimal distractions. And be sure to think things through carefully and thoroughly. Get the logic straight in your head. Develop a detailed plan with milestones and timelines, and then communicate your plan and rationale very clearly and logically to others. The integrative style. Here it's going to be important to identify not just one goal, but multiple goals, multiple objectives that may be both short-term and long-term. Think things through deeply and broadly. Actively draw on multiple varied sources of information and input. This is particularly important to find a place and allow yourself sufficient time for thinking and exploring without there being a lot of other distractions and pressure, particularly time pressure. Allow that space of time. In developing your plan, consider first, second, and third order outcomes that are possible and likely consequences. Don't just think about the immediate outcome, but think of also repercussions and other things that may happen further on down the line. And make sure to adapt a plan that has the potential for being modified with potential contingencies that may be appropriate for handling evolving circumstances and new developments. Communicate your plan and your considerations that you took into account to other people, but be careful not to overwhelm other people with too many details and other possibilities. Stick to the basic facts. You need to communicate your considerations broadly, but don't get lost in a lot of details and other considerations. So there you have it. Situations that require each of the styles, and then some tips on how to adapt your thinking to each of the styles.